This meeting to order. I've got 5:07 on my calendar. So welcome, everyone. I guess we'll start off with disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interests. Anyone have anything to declare?
None.
None?
None.
Okay.
None.
Thank you very much. How about an approval of the agenda, item 3? Could I have a motion to do that? Mary, thank you. Could I have a seconder? Andy, thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We just had an in-camera session, and at this time, I don't think there's anything that the board needs to share publicly. So we will skip over item 4, and we are now into our public session. Item 5A is just a report to everyone, and Inspector Ward, you'll be just thrilled that we had a chair and vice chair election, and you are stuck with status quo, my friend. So you'll have to continue to deal with the usual suspects moving forward. Are you excited about that?
Are you?
Oh, yes.
That was your chance to get out.
No, I didn't take it. Yeah. The only other thing, and we'll come to this, but it feels awkward to start a meeting and not welcome our new friend Mary Lou Archer, who is now serving as the police board secretary, and we're just super excited to have Mary Lou working closely with us. Has such a great understanding of everything we're trying to accomplish together, and also is a great resource for the board. So very grateful that you decided to come on board, Mary Lou. So welcome.
Welcome, Mary Lou.
And Mary Lou, this is the highlight of the meeting right here, right now, because we're on to item 6. And item 6, Sergeant Lemke, is the ward report. Are you excited about the ward report? It's infamous.
Don't try to get him to be your friend.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta tell you right now, it's fairly straight laced. You gotta prop your eyes open, but you know, you can get through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just, so it's Vice Chair McSweeney. I would just say that in preparing the agenda with Mary Lou, I think this is the first agenda where we actually call it the ward report. So it's a bit of a milestone.
I think, Vice Chair, you are correct. So we're setting precedent now.
We are.
Mono or Shelburne would never treat you with such royalty as this.
That you are so correct on that one.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Hey,
All
you know, we do appreciate it. I do enjoy hearing this portion, and I'm grateful for your sense of humor as well. So thank you very much, Terry.
So, well, first I will say congratulations then, Mr. Chair, for getting another term.
Thank you, sir.
Here we go. Game on, eh?
Game on.
So I will introduce Detective Sergeant Greg Lemke. So Greg is the supervisor of the Dufferin Community Street Crimes Unit. And I can go on and talk more about it, but I mean, that's what Greg's here for. So I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to see, this is something new for Dufferin, right? We've never really had that, and to be able to bring them in, and, you know, they're kind of linked into the whole organized crime bureau within the OPP, and some of the successes they've had. And I mean, obviously Greg's not going to get into the fine details, as we can't, right? That would kind of ruin everything that they do, but there's definitely an overview and kind of a 50,000-mile picture he can give you of what he's done. And I've kind of let Greg develop his own team and build his own team, and he's got a lot of impressive guys working with him, and the success speaks for itself. So without ado, I'll let Detective Sergeant Lemke take the floor.
Thanks, Inspector, and thanks for having me today. So let's kind of give you guys an overview of the Community Street Crime Unit, how it works, who we report to, and kind of the structure of it. So the Dufferin Street Crime Unit is made up of 5 members. That includes myself and 4 detective constables. 2 of those members are previously from the Orangeville Police Service. One's got 25 years experience, the other one has 15. We also have a member that amalgamated from Toronto Police Service. He's got 15 years experience. And we have another member that has always been an OPP member, and he has 15 years of experience. So that's what makes up the team. I have 15 years of experience myself. And the The program is a regionally based program. It's kind of a dual report that reports to region as well as detachment, reports to central region as well as the Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau. There's 55 members in total within Central Region and the Central Region Community Response Community Street Crime Unit. So within those resources, we have 5 at our detachment, but we also have the availability to call on members from other detachments as well to assist us in our investigations. Our enforcement and primary responsibility is enforcing property crime as well as drug enforcement and wanted people. And in addition to our street crime members from within detachment and outside and inside the region, depending on what the project is, what the investigation is, we can also call on West Region and East Region. More applicable to us where we're located with West Region. There's a couple of incidents where we have utilized resources from Wellington Detachment and that cluster to assist us on our investigations with the cross-border types of investigations. We also have the support from our technical support branches, covert operations, digital forensics, TSB, TRUE, ERT teams. So lots of people that we can call upon if we need help with gun files, depending on what it is and who we need for resources to help us with those investigations. Where we kind of prioritize and decide where we're going to do our investigations. Those are strategic enforcement decisions that are made, where we prioritize those based on public safety with a mix of community impact as well. And when I say that, I refer to our overdoses with fentanyl, as well as firearm involvement. We do have people that come from the GTA area to traffic drugs in our area. So we will turn our focus on those investigations if that's what it happens to be. But we don't shy away from the stuff that's local to us. It would be catalytic converter thefts, mischiefs. Recently, we arrested a male party who was responsible for several mischiefs in Orangeville as well as Mono. I believe there was around 50 in total, and he was charged with mischief offenses in relation to that. And there's further ongoing investigation that's happening with that to ensure a successful conclusion in court. So when I came to Orangeville, Dufferin, in February of 22, and there's obviously a lot of training that's involved for our members in the Community Street Crime Unit. So the majority of our first couple months, the new members were sent on training to get them up to task on some of that job-specific training that was required. So it was probably into the May, June before we had a full team to hit the ground running and start our enforcement. So just to kind of give you an idea from that time frame till now, the kind of enforcement action and results that we've had. 206 occurrences investigated, 348 warrants. That's not necessarily warrants as in warrant executions at people's residences, but warrants drafted and submitted through the courts for various types of investigations. 184 people charged with 841 offenses. Just seizure-wise, 335 kilograms of marijuana, 2,000 marijuana plants, almost 5 kilograms of cocaine, 1,300 Oxycontin pills, $140,000 in cash seized, 11 handguns, 22 long guns, 3 replica firearms, 4 prohibited weapons, When I talk about prohibited weapons, that could be anything from brass knuckles to prohibited knives, as well as prohibited magazines. And 14 vehicles seized, and that's a mix of seizures for offense-related property, meaning they were directly involved and related to the offense that we're investigating. So those were seized for that reason. So that's a mix of offense-related property seizures as well as stolen vehicles that were seized. I think that kind of gives a good overall explanation of kind of what we do and kind of what we've done for the past almost a year. If you have any questions for me.
Any questions, board members? No. I'm curious, Sergeant Lemke, like, you know, you referenced the individual with the 50, and I'm trying to be as professional and skirt around the, I don't want to get into specifics of the individual, but I think if you're describing it, I'm very familiar with that case. It would be a high profile case here in town. How would your group have gone about finding that individual? Like, it's such an interesting thing. Like, to me, it's a needle in the haystack kind of piece. So I guess without the details of the individual or the specifics, to me, I would have chalked it up. We're never going to know who did this. We're just never going to know.
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to give you.
You're still not going to know.
Yeah. It's tradecraft, investigative technique, that kind of stuff that obviously we can't divulge.
Got it. Just to follow, what did you call it? Something craft?
Different trade crafts that police use.
Trade crafts. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's completely fair. Yeah, yours truly was affected by that individual. So I won't get into my personal situation, but was certainly violated by
Did you spell your name right, Todd?
Sadly, he did. He did, or the individual did. Excuse me, spelled my name right. But it's an absolutely fascinating piece. How would you say? Like, are you surprised, Sergeant, by the, I guess, the sheer amount or the gravity of the crimes? Like, does it surprise you in Dufferin that the things you're running across, or what would your experience dictate?
I'm not surprised. If you're not seeing it, you don't know about it. The general public doesn't usually know about the crimes that are happening under their noses, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Isn't it better, though, that it's under our noses because you could actually find out? Like, my experience has been when it gets to the politicians level, it's because so many people know about it, and then maybe it might be harder for your group to infiltrate because we're all watching and waiting and wondering.
I mean, when people are asking a lot of questions, sure, it could affect things at times, but we do our best to prevent that coming to an issue that you're going to know about and have to know about. We want to stop it before it gets there and prevent those issues.
Yeah, well, that's very good. If no one else has any questions, I guess my last comment would be, it's funny, honestly, I would call myself pretty tuned in to what's happening in town. And most of the things that happen with your group, I don't know about and would be uncomfortable knowing about, you know, like, so I'm glad not to know. That doesn't sound funny. And I'm glad you're there. And I think we've seen the results of your work already in this community. And I think we're all quite grateful for your work, for sure. Board members, any other comments or questions? Sergeant Lee? No? Okay. Well, thank you, sir. It was very nice to meet you.
Mr. Chair, I just want to comment. I just want to comment on, you know, the team that Greg has built are very, very highly skilled and highly trained. And when he talks about, you know, going away on training, having been a former ERT member myself and done a lot of training and a lot of stuff, I know kind of some of the stuff that him and his members have gone through. And I mean, some of the training is pretty pretty high-end training. And I mean, when you get into some of the entry training and surveillance training and different stuff like that, it's not simple and it's not easy. So for these guys to pass all this stuff and come back and put the craft to play, it's pretty impressive to see it work out. And we're very fortunate that Greg's picked a pretty good team here, and they're all very passionate and very motivated about this job, and that's why they're having the successes too. So it's a benefit to Dufferin to have this unit here for sure.
Out of curiosity, so those who are watching this broadcast may be confused by this question, but we wouldn't necessarily know the people that are involved or the details. I don't know who is on your board. Is it possible to know those names, or is that also something you wish not to share?
I'll leave that to you, Greg, but my talk would be, no, you're not going to. Not, at this time, he's not going to divulge names because that just kind of some people may still know, because there are a couple members that were with Orangeville Police, as he stated, so they're now in the unit, and so we're not, they, for their own safety and protection too, we're not going to throw out there what these guys are involved with, so because they are dealing with some pretty heavy-handed criminals at times too. So
I'm sure. Well, my motivation is we would know who those people were too, and certainly wanted to wish them well, and thank them, I guess, without knowing exactly who those folks are now. But that's just great. Okay. Well, thank you for your report. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, so board members, excuse me, Inspector Ward, do you have other things that you wish to share on your report?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to touch on a couple of things. I mean,
sure.
Next meeting will be the end of the first quarter, so we'll basically get the roll up for the first 3 months, but I'll just touch on a couple of things. One of the things we've targeted over the last couple of months is distracted driving in Orangeville. And, for the first 2 months of the year already, we're at 52 charges laid. So those are specifically dealing with cell phones, right? So that's something that we're kind of targeting right now. We've got our traffic management team dialing in on that. So it's, stuff like that is still happening out there. What's nice to see is for the first 2 months, we've only had one impaired driver charged. So that's kind of nice to see that compared to some of the other municipalities around where, the charges have been a little bit higher. So it's nice to see that maybe people in Orangeville are getting the message out there.
Those stats, Inspector Ward, if I could, those were the first 2 months?
Yeah,
the 52 and the one?
January, February. Yeah. And I'm just trying to think what else we've done here. So ride grant, we're still using some of the ride grants. And for the first 2 months, we've checked just under 1,500 vehicles in Orangeville. And again, like I said, to only have one impaired by alcohol, and we had one impaired by drugs. So 2 impaired charges, but that's still, I think the message there is getting out. And again, our foot patrol hours, we're starting to increase those again, now that the weather's starting to turn a bit. It's nice to get the guys back out on the street. And now that some of the mandates are starting to open up, it'll be nice to get that visibility piece back with the downtown too. So, for the first couple of months, we're up to 60 hours of foot patrol as well. So it's nice to keep that going. The only other thing I was going to touch on, again, we were talking about the false alarms. And we had, let's see, January and February, we had a total of 43 false alarms within Orangeville. So that's kind of significant, I think.
It is.
So. And that for this is that's the ward report for now.
I like that ward report. The cell phone piece, it's interesting, right? So your officers are just they decided that would be your blitz for this period of time is cell phones, and you've grabbed 52 different people, and they are literally searching through and utilizing it while in motion. Is that the thinking?
Yep. Yeah. And that's I'm not gonna throw out other numbers from other municipalities, but there's another municipality in our area that's even higher than that.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm always trying to ground it in something. Like, is that a lot or not? It sounds like a lot to me.
Absolutely, right? It's very significant. But I mean, the other area is Shelburne. I think we're at 77 charges in Shelburne.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, people aren't getting that message either, that, you can't be driving and talking on your phone. So.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Inspector Ward. Appreciate this. There is two other pieces on this agenda item. One is to discuss TTC drivers and operators, and understand this came from Member Rose. To your knowledge, Inspector Ward, have we had issues of drivers in Orangeville for buses having issues with patrons? Have there been incidents to your knowledge, or is this more of a Toronto?
Yeah, none that I'm aware of, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. Member Rose, is that kind of get at it for you, or?
Yeah, that was good. It was just that people are so angry today. You just take it out on the nearest person, and this was just. It was also name calling as well as actual physical contact, and being sort of held up, not at gunpoint, but certainly with knives and other things like that. And so Toronto has had to bring in a sort of de-escalation workshops for their drivers, hoping that it doesn't become anything worse than that kind of a nuisance thing. So I didn't know if any of our drivers had come across that in Orangeville. So I'm glad to hear it didn't.
Yeah, none that I'm aware of, because
Okay.
that's crossing a line there, and luckily, we're still in a very safe community here, so we don't seem to have those issues.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. And so the last piece in this, and I guess it's in this section because we want to align with you, Inspector Ward, but is in, we're still trying to work through our cadence for the year, and I think we've been just operating as a need to until we get into a regular setup for meetings. And so this is the first meeting that we didn't meet in February. We've met in March now. And I guess board members, with the assistance of Inspector Ward, we should just align to what we'll do moving forward. Okay. To me, I think we've covered the business up to this point. And I guess if I had to make a suggestion to everyone, mine would be is that we would meet again in May at this point. And maybe it's a truncated meeting at that point, but I think we'd be okay for that. And I'm curious what the inspector thinks and the rest of board members of my suggestion.
So, Mr. Chair, yeah, Shelburne has gone
every other month.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm fine with that. Whatever the board feels. And then obviously the municipalities around do quarterly, right? So, yeah, every other month to me is sufficient, because then I can actually bring a bit more to the table than, month by month. Sometimes it's tougher than not to draw some of the stats, and maybe we can get into a kind of a rhythm where we do have some guest speakers come in and kind of.
Absolutely. Well, that was great stuff today.
Right. It's nice to see what we have here as well, and what we have to, and like Greg said, we have our community street crimes team, but there's, 55 other members trained up throughout the region that they can call on in a heartbeat if they have to execute warrants and do surveillance and all kinds of stuff. So it's sometimes it's just nice. It's nice to know, right?
Yeah. In the spirit of trying to make your the requirements upon your life easier, would you prefer that we were on a separate month of Shelburne then, if that was the case, or would you like us to be the same month? Like if we met in May, does that meet with your timelines, or what's best for you?
No, that's fine. It's just when we get back to in person, if it's the same night, one of you is going to get me and one of you is going to get a staff sergeant, because I can't be in two places at once, right? So That'll be the only consideration, is to be if we want to flip nights or something, maybe. Or you know what I mean?
For sure. Well, I think I can say we'd like the staff sergeant.
Well, that's fine. The way it's a revolving door around here, I don't even know who you're getting.
Do you meet this exact same night with Shelburne currently? And are they set for May? So right now, are you heading for a collision?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's like, I mean, it hasn't been difficult when we've been online, right? Like I just flip another link and I'm up. But when it actually comes into person, like, we'll probably meet here in our boardroom, and then they'll want to meet up in Primrose in the boardroom up there. So it's kind of a catch-22. So.
Yeah, understood. And maybe that is a board discussion item. Would we wait on that, board members, or should we just bring that here? And that is in-person meetings. Do we want to wait till we get to the item, or does it make sense to broach that here as well?
I think
probably best to broach it here.
I think you should wait.
You should wait.
I have to sign off because I'm running behind, but I just got a question quickly. We mentioned that we're going to be moving every couple months. One thing that needs to be discussed is compensation for board members. If we're not meeting, I personally feel we shouldn't be compensated or honorarium on a monthly basis. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Now, I am running behind, so I have to log off. So thank you for the ward report, Inspector Ward, and thank you, Sergeant Lemke. It was great to hear from you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I think that takes us through. We didn't align board members on May.
I'm fine.
With May. It's up to you. I don't mind.
Okay. So why don't we
actually
leave that as?
You know what, Mr. Chair, I'm just we are not. Yeah. So I'll be meeting with Shelburne in April.
Oh, perfect.
So if we do, we might actually be fine.
Okay. That's great.
Excellent.
They were technically supposed to meet tonight. They canceled tonight till next month, which is April. And then if we do, so we might be fine. Let's just leave it for now, and we can always adjust at another time if we have to.
So Inspector Ward, if I may, so the Shelburne board, like, if you're watching this broadcast, you're probably wondering why these questions, but the idea is we're still transitioning from our old board to our new board, and we're just about there, really. And it sounds like they're kind of struggling, and when it's struggling, they're maneuvering through the same, and it sounds like they.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've been doing the same thing, and now they've made that decision, their last meeting, to kind of go every other.
I see. And are they moving towards a quarterly, which will probably?
No, I think they made the decision to kind of stay with every other for right now.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Very good. Thank you for that. So, everyone, we need a motion to, I guess, receive the report from Sergeant Lemke and Inspector Ward, and make our next meeting in May. Could I have someone make that motion, Mary? Andy, thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Item 7, I'd already mentioned, it felt awkward to start a meeting and not mention it. So here we are in the formal pages, and we're just welcome our board secretary, Mary Lou. So excited to do that. And as an update, could I have board members mute again? Okay, there we go. That's much better, thank you. Still a little bit of feedback. Maybe I'm just sitting in an office here, so. Mary, maybe you can mute, Mary. Are you able to do that?
If I do, I lose you.
No, you should still hear me. You just need to.
I can hear you okay, yes, but now I've lost you.
Oh, she left.
I think that was an unrelated glitch.
You ticked her off, Todd.
Shoot, it was really hard to hear. Was everybody else experiencing the same?
I think it was on her end. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can give her a minute to come back in. Sorry, everyone. Oh, here she comes. Perfect. Just stay like that, Mary. We can see you, and yep, and you'll just unmute when you start to talk again. But you're muted right now, which is perfect. Okay, so we got through the ward report. We were on the board secretary hire, and the update for everyone is that the contract has been signed by the Police Services Board. We're just waiting for the General Manager of Corporate Services to sign that, and she is away on holidays, and that will be done next week, and we will be formally having that done, and Mary Lou will be joining us in the position. So thank you again for that, Mary Lou. So excited that you're here. Could I have a motion to receive that report, board members? Mary, thank you. Andy, any comments or questions, board members? No, seeing none. Okay, all in favor? Yes. Very good. Ian, I can't see or hear you, but I'm assuming you'd weigh in if you were negative. So
Yes.
okay, very good. So item 8, it's human trafficking discussion. There was a link that was sent out to the board. It was called Cry Not. There was a webinar recording. This webinar was really well done, in my view. It was hosted by local resident and former CBC correspondent Bernadette Hardacre. She had guests with knowledge of the issues that spoke eloquently about what's happening in our region. You know, Inspector Ward, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Did you want to speak to this at all? And you don't have to, sir. If you have no commentary, it's fine.
No, I really don't have anything to add, Todd.
Yeah, very good. Board members, any comments on that report? No. Okay. Motion to receive this report then. Mary, thank you. Andy, thank you. All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Community Watch. There is a group of residents led by Jessica Keats Marchildon, and her friend Sarah, and they are looking at organizing a Community Watch program. And that program was to reach out to Constable Roach, and they are also linking in with Dufferin Safe Communities. And I've also had the chair of Mono and Shelburne reach out, and they're also interested in something along these lines. So we'll see what happens with this initiative. I know Deputy Mayor and Member McIntosh, I believe you're still involved with Dufferin Safe Communities, are you, sir?
That's correct. I'm the chairman.
Okay. So you know what? I'll link in with, would it be best to link you in with them?
Yes. We will link Sue.
Yes.
Yeah, just include me.
Okay, very good. And Constable Roach is involved in this as well, so I think we're in good shape here. So this is more of an inform, letting the board know. Inspector Ward, did you want to say anything on this subject, or?
Yeah, Chair, I was just going to say that Jen's going to come and do a little overview at the joint board meeting in April, just to give anyone there just that isn't up to speed on the whole Community Watch program, just kind of an overview on it and what's all involved. So this is something else that's coming forward in April.
That's great. Okay, thank you. So a motion for the board to receive this information at this time. Member McIntosh, Member Rose, all in favor? Yes. Okay, so just so everyone knows, we are having a board SharePoint set up. Our very capable secretary, Mary Lou, is setting this up and leading this work. It will have all the work documents on it for the board. Open meetings, closed meetings will be on this as well, and it'll just make for a much easier board meeting, accessible for materials and whatnot. Members, any thoughts or comments on this information, or do we just simply want to receive it at this time? No? Okay, so motion to receive, please. Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so website setup. This is just basically updating a long-standing to-do list item. We're going to ensure that the meeting minutes are all on the website. This board is responsible for having all of its meeting minutes on there. And really, it's something that now, under the tutelage and knowledge of our new secretary, Mary Lou, this is something that the board will be undertaking over the next few months and closing out the year with the hopes of having this thing completely updated. Board members, any comments on this that you'd like to offer? No, seeing none, can I have a motion to receive this information? Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're on to item 12, and this is the zone meeting that took place on March 8th. Member McSweeney, I think you're going to lead this. If I may, I was hoping that you could speak to, there was a couple comments in the information, and that was what will policing look like 30 years from now? And police intervention as opposed to force. So I'll hand it over to you, and board members, this is around page 20, I guess, is where this is in your package.
Right, so just briefly, I think people need to mute themselves. I'm getting a horrible echo.
Okay.
Okay. So just briefly, unlike other Zone 5 meetings that I've attended, there was no meeting, a joint meeting of the chiefs and the Zone 5 boards at the outset. So we went right into a meeting just with the Zone 5 boards. The agenda was pretty sparse. I think the two main things on the agenda that I wanted to talk about, Dwayne Sprague gave a little report, but most of what he talked about was just in connection with what I talked about in close, the pens down as far as the government proceeding with some of the police-related initiatives on detachment boards, consolidation, and training, and rolling out the regulations under the new police services legislation. So all of that will have to wait until after the election. He didn't give an exact timeline of where things will end up, but didn't sound to me like that much would be happening until the beginning of next year. Lisa McDonald, the Zone 5 director, gave her report and talked a lot about the spring conference, which is in May, I think 26th and 27th, and they've decided to go for in-person and hybrid. So attendees can either go in person, and it's at a hotel, a Toronto Airport Marriott. They can go in person, or there will be a link that will allow people to participate electronically. The agenda was just in the process of being finalized. It hadn't been approved, but at this point there were a lot of interesting things on it: human trafficking, strategic planning, education. I think the Inspector General was going to be one of the talkers, or one of the presenters. The hope was that Sylvia Jones would be able to make it for a presentation. There would be either a workshop or a plenary session on equity, diversity, and inclusion. There will be a surprise announcement. I don't know what that is, and Lisa wouldn't tell me. So I don't know. She was being very coy about it, so we'll have to, not that she was trying to promote sign-ups to find out what the surprise would be, but there was a surprise aspect to this conference that they weren't quite ready to roll out. And then there was a bit of a discussion, and I actually raised this topic. There was a bit of a discussion generally among the Zone 5 delegates about records management, and a couple of comments that were made me think that there wasn't a lot of consistency in the way that boards manage their records, and in some cases there wasn't a lot of awareness about the need to manage records, and about the whole issue of who owns the records, where the safekeeping and custody resides, and what the boards need to do to make sure that their records are properly protected, and so that they can comply with the guidelines with respect to records retention. So all of that seemed to be on some people's radar and seemed not to be on others. But I think Lisa McDonald is going to add a session on records retention and management to the May spring conference. And there was some talk about getting a presenter for that. And there's a company that I think mid last year was actually making the rounds at conferences talking about public sector records retention, and in particular police service records retention. And they were prepared to do training exercises for specific boards and go in and help boards manage that process. I think she's going to try to get a presentation on the spring conference agenda from them or from somebody else who's similarly in the know. I think we're in good shape. Members will recall that we have an archive services arrangement with the town. I think we've done a lot of thinking about this. I think we're actually well ahead of the curve on compared to many other boards in terms of coming to grips with this. We largely came to grips with it, I think, prior to and in conjunction with the transition from Section 31 to Section 10. So I think we're in good shape. Not that we're perfect, and not that there might not be some learning available. So we should recognize this as an issue to keep an eye on. Todd, where will the police services be in 30 years? I don't know. RoboCop? That would be my best guess. There wasn't a specific discussion on that. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Oh, other than I think it's important that we talk about, and we might as well talk about it right now, who wants to go, and I'm not even sure I have a cost identified yet.
It's under item 13. I think, Member McSweeney, the spring conference, it's coming right up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked those questions not to be smart. It was actually in the notes, right? Did they not talk about those, or did I just misinterpret it? Did we just lose Ian? Technology.
Yeah, he's dropped off.
Yeah. Okay. That's too bad. Well, Member Rose, you're on mute. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Just had two things. Ian's not there to answer them anyway. I was very interested in reading the Guelph report to that zone meeting and the South Huron. Now, do they just ask people to send in a report, or are we expected to send in a report periodically?
We'll have to ask him.
Okay. And the other one is still the same housekeeping issue as before. If you look at the membership directory, Andy's name is not there. Sandy's name is there. It says we have 5 members, but it's 6 names. And
yeah, I've got the same piece. It's on page 20.
Mm-hmm.
And our contact information needs to be updated.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Just give me a second. I'll see if he wants to call my cell if he's having issues. They just come back. The good news is, everyone, this is almost. Oh, he came back. Very good. Okay. And I thought that was the most.
So apologize for that. My laptop unplugged. The battery was running down.
No problem. I was just summing up there and saying that was the most refreshing report by the vice chair we've ever had.
Sarcasm is an art form.
It is. I mean it with tongue in cheek for sure. There was 2 questions. One, Mary Rose, did you want to ask your question now, Mary?
Yes. It was really just a question, an interest question, Ian. as to whether there's a rotation of who should submit individual board reports, what's happening. I read with interest Guelphs and South Huron, and I wonder if we have ever submitted a report. And then the next item was about someday we can revise the membership directory and get Andy's name on there and not Sandy's.
That's on page 20. Just got our wrong names on there.
Yeah.
Did we ever do a report, Member McSweeney?
Sorry, I was switching networks. I didn't hit any of that. I apologize. What? I didn't hear the questions.
Yeah, sorry. For the third time, it was, have we ever done a report at this event? And if we haven't, will we? And the other one is the information on page 20 is wrong. It needs to be updated regarding our membership.
On the directory.
Yes, please.
I will update the information on the directory. And when you say this event, you mean the spring conference?
No, the Zone 5 meeting.
Or, sorry, Mary, you're wondering if we're ever formally on the agenda to make a
Yes.
presentation? No, but they are sick of hearing me talk.
No comment.
Understood. And that piece you mentioned about rotocopying, but it does mention in there about the next 30 years and what policing is. Was that not a discussion topic, or did I misunderstand?
It wasn't discussed.
Okay, and then the other one was about police intervention versus force. Was that discussed or no?
Wasn't discussed.
Okay. Okay, good. It's just a test to see if we read the information then. Very good. So we have a motion to receive that report from Member McSweeney.
So moved.
Yes. Okay. Looks like it was Member Rose and Member McIntosh. Excuse me, Mary Lou, and we were all in favor. That wasn't very smooth, that last bit by me. So let's move on to item 13, and that is the spring conference. And I guess we just need to decide, are we going to attend? It's a hybrid conference. Portion of it's online and the rest is at the Toronto airport area. Board members, how do you feel about this? May 26th, 27th. Ian, do you have a perspective?
Well, it's 2 days. I can't. I mean, it's a lot to carve out of your schedule to go. I mean, I think we should send somebody. I think we can be creative about how we attend. We could break it up, have one member attend one day and another the second day. That's one way of doing it. But I think we should send somebody.
Okay. Mary or Andy, do you have any interest in attending?
Todd, I already attended one conference in this term.
Okay.
Let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
For me.
Todd, do you need me to go?
Yes. Yes, please. Mary Lou, can you just make in the notes that, Member McIntosh will inform the rest of us if he's able? That'd be great. Okay, so for now, we will just receive that and we'll, I guess through email, we'll determine our representation. And that'll give Ken a chance to weigh in as well on his intentions. Okay, so a motion to receive item 13. Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. So item 14, it's simply an FYI, some great work being done by the Victim Support Grant. So this is an email that is sending out confirmation that we received a grant. The town of Orangeville received a grant with the OPP. And and that amount is $11,328. So it's just excellent news. Inspector Ward, did you want to speak to this at all, or are you? No.
No, it's just great work. I think is that the one that you worked on, Mary Lou?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
Sergeant Moore and myself worked on that one.
yeah, some really great work, and we're reaping the benefits of the work. That's for sure. So good job.
It's excellent. Yeah, congratulations, Mary Lou. Okay, board members, anybody else wish to speak to this item? No. Can I have a motion to receive, please? Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. False alarms. So this is something that we're working on. We did cover this item off and closed, and Inspector Ward spoke to this earlier in his report. The false alarm calls continue to be of significance, and what we can report on and closed is that there's been some research done by Mary Lou Archer, who will be supplying that to board members, and the board has deputized Member McIntosh and myself to go to council with this information and a recommendation, of which I guess Member McIntosh and I will do offline and bring to council. But essentially the gist of it will be is we with the board's permission will be recommending a portion of those costs be recovered by the town of Orangeville. Just need to determine what those costs will be, and we will have that here very shortly, and off we go. So I guess, well, I'll call it out to all board members. I was going to say, I don't think, Andy, you want to speak to it. You're aligned to this, but Mary or Ian, would you like to offer any further thoughts on this issue?
Nope, I'm fine.
Okay. Member Rose as well. Okay, so I have a motion to receive then. Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. So this brings us to item 16, which is the approval of the public meeting minutes. Board members, would you, could I have a motion to receive this item, I guess, is first off, and we'll get it seconded, and then we'll see if anybody would like to speak to it. So a motion to receive? Yes. Member McIntosh, seconded by Member Rose. Would anyone like to speak to this item?
Mr. Chair, just one thing to note. The minutes have been signed, so they're all set to go. Once we approve it, the board secretary can send them to council immediately.
Oh, that's excellent. That is excellent. Okay, very good. Motion to receive this item then? Sorry, all in favor, excuse me, all in favor. Thank you. We're having a record time board meeting here, so I shouldn't complain about the length. Usually I'm getting tired, but we're doing quite well here tonight. So that's that. So we're on to item 17, and this is of quite of interest. It's return to in-person meetings, and I'll just preface this. This is thoughts and Mary Lou and Inspector Ward. I'm hoping that you will both feel comfortable weighing in with your thoughts as well. This isn't a dictatorship. We all should align and make sure each of us is comfortable if we're to return. And if there's members who aren't comfortable, then we won't return. We'll continue to stay in this model for now. But I just thought that we should table it given where we are with the province and just have a quick touch base on this item. Do we want to return to in-person meetings?
So, Mr. Chair, if I might just share
Yeah.
some information that I have wearing my other hat on the Financial Services Tribunal. So I've had discussions with the Ministry of Finance about this very thing for the tribunal. And I think across the public sector, what's at least from a public sector perspective, it looks like it's sort of voluntary back to in-person at work. For a certain number of days a week. I don't know if it's 2 or 3, which is now, and then there'll be some sort of mandatory back to work later, probably the beginning of May, end of April. So my conclusion after having those discussions is that every board sort of I think, needs to make this decision on its own, using what the government's doing as sort of the background. Because every board, the circumstances are different, right? The compliance with public health regulations and restrictions is fairly consistent, but the circumstances of the meeting are really what drive the process. So I think we're still premature on going back in person. I don't think there's any particular need for it. I think we should continue to go forward on using the electronic platform, and probably look maybe at our next meeting to setting a date to go hybrid. I don't think we should go back immediately to in person. I think what we're going to end up doing, and what most public bodies are going to end up doing, is go back to in person, always with a hybrid option, and that gives flexibility. Gives flexibility in terms of the capacity, in terms of the location of the in-person meeting, and also gives flexibility for those that aren't particularly comfortable going in person right away to still attend.
Very good. Thank you, Ian. Member McIntosh, did you wish to speak to this item?
Yeah, I personally had no issue either way. I just wondered, if we were to go to a hybrid, how would we do it? I know Town Hall's working on something for just that reason. I just wondered how the board would see that going forward if we did go to a hybrid model.
From a technology standpoint, is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd almost have to book Town Hall, because that's the only spot that would have that technology.
Correct.
That's right.
Inspector Ward, what is the rest of the police services boards doing at this time? Do you have any mentoring for us on that?
No, I haven't. We're just getting back into the meetings now, right? So everything's still virtual, but we'll see as we move forward who's willing to go in person and who's not. And like the vice chair said, maybe this hybrid is going to be the new way to do it, right? I'm thinking here, and I'd have to check. I know we did an NCO meeting at one point where people can link in and we put them up on the screen in the boardroom. So I mean, the boardroom here is always an option if we want to do that hybrid, the hybrid as well, right? So.
You know, it's been so long since we've been in person. My thinking was as well, we need to be accessible to the public. Well, accessible to the public is being taped, but we were never taped before. The accessibility to the public is they had the opportunity to come into the police boardroom and sit in the gallery and watch the meeting and ask questions if they so desired. So the reality is, the way you're describing it, Inspector Ward, is if, as an example, if Andy couldn't make the meeting, his face would be up on a screen. The rest of us would see him, and unless the public came to the meeting, they wouldn't see a tape. But that's the way it was always done. So I don't actually know if we would need Town Hall. I think you're right. We could do it at the station.
And Chair Taylor, it's very flexible, subject to what Dan says about the technological limits that we might encounter. We've had, I've held hearings where we had a bunch of people in person at the hearing room, including the panel, and the members of the public, because all these hearings are open to the public, participated via Zoom in a separate breakout room where they couldn't be heard or they couldn't interrupt. And then there were some of the witnesses were on Microsoft Teams as well, so that they were actually testifying electronically. So that mix is great and really works well, but you have to have, as Andy says, you have to have the technology to support it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts, everyone? No. So maybe I'll just put out a motion then so we can get this down. So if we're meeting in May, it sounds like what we're aligning to is we're just peaking a little bit too early here. We shouldn't be making any rash decisions. Let's stay status quo for May. We'll talk about it again in May and determine next steps then. So for the May meeting, we would continue online as we are now, and it'll be a discussion topic again in May for, I guess it'd be a July meeting potentially.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anybody like to second that? Member Rose. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Very good. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion. So that brings us on to item 18. And this is a report essentially on the board remuneration claims. And there were 2 special meetings that occurred. One where 4 of us attended, and then there was a Zone 5 where Member McSweeney represents us, and we're grateful for that. So those were the 2 things, and special remuneration claims of $500. Board members would, well, I guess we'll need a motion first, excuse me. Motion to receive. Member McIntosh, a second. Member Rose. Board members, would anybody like to speak to this item? No. Okay. Motion to, or excuse me, all in favor? Losing my rhythm here. All in favor? Thank you.
Yes.
That's great. So now we move on to item 19, which is the board service standards. You know, I guess you and I, Ian, were going to lead this. What we were going to do is, this is on page 41. We're going to review March and the Friday meeting minutes. You know, were we on target? Excuse me, in the meeting minutes, were we on target? And we were. I think the next input is this coming Friday, and that is we'll have the results of this meeting, the interim meeting minute report. You know, Member McSweeney and I will weigh in, and then we'll get those meeting minutes finalized. Does anybody see it differently than what I just summarized, or?
No, I think that's a great summary. This is really just a tool
To keep us on target.
Yeah, and I know that Mary Lou appreciates it as well. It allows her to book stuff in her calendar and to see where things are going and how, and the sequence of the things that need to get completed. So Mary Lou, for our next meeting, which is now in May, you have lots of time to do this, but you can produce a similar service standards deadlines document for May, and then you can give it to Todd and I, and then we'll have that, and we'll disclose that in the May public session as well.
Okay.
That's great. Member Rose, did you want to speak to this item? Well, you just muted yourself. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm on again. My only question would be, does this have to be done by date every time each month we have a meeting? Or would you put it down that whatever the meeting date is, like 3 days later or 5 days later or the following week, rather than be specific as to date? I don't know whether that's necessary, but you're working on it, so you would know whether that's necessary.
So I'll let Mary Lou respond to that, but
Okay.
Mary, if you look at our policy, our service standards policy, that is how the policy is drafted. X days after this, X days after that. And that's how it's drafted. But we found that that as a second stage, it was helpful to translate those deadlines in the way they're described in the policy in terms of calendar dates.
Okay.
So this is really a document that arises out of our policy, and it creates a calendar. It's just easier to look at.
Fine.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay. So I guess we need a motion to receive this report. Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor? Oh, excuse me. Does anyone want to speak to it any further? No. Okay. All motion, excuse me, all aligned, please.
Yes.
Losing my mind here tonight, guys. My apologies. Okay, so item 20, and this is just a report. We'd already approved these invoices, but again, when you're paying with the taxpayers' money for certain things, I just wanted to make sure people were aware, but the board had approved these. I approved the expenses, and now this is just a report that, again, these have been paid. So that one was a legal expense and the other one was a membership in the Zone 5 for our district. So could I have a motion to receive this report? Member Rose, Member McIntosh, would anybody like to comment on this report? No, seeing none. All in favor?
Yes.
Perfect. So that brings us to question period. Mona, is there any questions on the line?
And through you, Chair, there's no one on the line.
There's no one on the line. That's what you said, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. You just broke up a little bit. Great. And there 22 through 25. There is nothing to report at this time, which brings us to item 26 and new business. And I think we are going to talk about the traffic report that was recently done at Town Hall under new business. Is there anything else that other board members would like to bring forward, or is that kind of the, any other items under new business?
There was only that email that we all got from Global titled Traffic Safety Data. I don't know if, I think we all struggled wondering what that was.
So I struggled with what it was as well. However, being the foolish person that I am, I did respond to that individual, and I set him up with our Director of Infrastructure Services for him to speak with him, and we'll see where that comes out. But that was the end of that. And the only other piece is the safety report did come through to council since we last met. In that safety report, there is essentially if the police or a member of our community or a member of council deems an area to have a safety issue, the issue is brought forward to staff, and then there's a criteria list that staff will go through to determine whether or not it's a true safety issue. And, you know, essentially if it is, it'll be brought back to council and the decision will be made on some sort of device to be implemented. In addition to that, I think we've decided to go ahead with the cutouts that this board brought forward to town staff as well. So, you know, the recommendations that this board has made with the assistance of Inspector Ward is being implemented. So we'll see those in a neighborhood near you at some point. Member McIntosh, I'm trying to be very top line with this. It feels like we've done it quite a few times now. Is there anything you think from a top line perspective we should also mention in this meeting?
Not really. If anyone wants to see the report, it's a good report. It has some great ideas. If anyone's been down to the Kitchener, Waterloo, Palgrave area, you'll see some of these measures being implemented that they talk of in the report. And it does work, or certainly appears to work. And there were some really good ideas. So if anyone wants to see the report, I don't know if Mary Lou has it or Mary Lou can get hold of it and send it to the members, but it's quite a good report.
Very good. Okay, so that was under new business, so I don't think there's anything there to receive. Just one last call out. Anything else under new business for board members? Seeing none, we're at item 27, Inspector Ward's favorite part of the meeting, and that is adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor? Very good. Thank you so much, everyone. It was a very efficient meeting. We record time tonight. Thank you for your input and your help.
See, we're already reaping the benefits of having Mary Lou as our secretary.
Very good.
Careful, they're buttering you up, Mary Lou. They're buttering you up.
Yeah, it's coming.
I have a question though, if I could ask, Chair.
No, we've adjourned. You're out. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
I missed the.
Excuse me, Todd and Mary Lou. Sorry. So you guys are done? The meeting completed?
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Mona. Appreciate you doing that tonight. Thank
no
you.
problem. Thank you.
Okay. Mary Lou, go ahead.